Paraguay is a lesser known country in South America, with a decent climate, friendly people, and plenty of interesting aspects. Is it any good for you to move to if you want to escape the West? Let's find out. As usual, I'll tell you more about the following items. First, we'll talk about Paraguay in general, a little bit of background and other useful things to know about this country. Secondly, what are the requirements for moving to Paraguay? Is this actually possible for foreigners? Next up are some of its advantages and disadvantages. Then I'll lay out some numbers and facts which determine its score. And finally, I'll give you my conclusion based on all the information in this video. If you like this kind of content and want to see more of it for free, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. The more interactivity, the better, and the more videos I can provide you with. Okay, let's get started. Paraguay is a typical developing Latin American country with a population of roughly 7 million. It shares borders with Brazil to the east and northeast, Bolivia to the northwest, and Argentina to the southwest. It's a founding member of Mercosur. One of its national languages is Spanish, the capital is Asunción, and Paraguay ranks as one of the happiest places in the world. It used to be a Spanish colony, of course, until the locals told them to fuck off in 1811, after which some dictators rose to power. Civil unrest and general mayhem and wars were rampant well into the 20th century, and after World War II, a whole lot of Nazis made it their home. This is still visible in the large, substantial German population. Currently, the country seems pretty stable under a representative democratic republic with separation of powers across three branches. While the economy has made great strides, up to 50% of the population can still be considered poor. While this isn't ideal at all, it does mean a low cost of living. It's one of the least urbanized countries in Latin America and has a very low population density. Paraguay's geography consists of grassy plains, wooded hills, marshy plains, the Chaco, lakes, and so on. Pretty varied and quite beautiful actually. Moving to Paraguay does not come with a lot of requirements, and citizens of most countries do not even need to get a visa. Citizens of the European Union can stay up to 90 days without one, and Americans and Canadians can get a visa on arrival, which is renewable for another 90 days. Permanent residency and citizenship are also on the table, which means staying in Paraguay is substantially easier than in many other countries. The language barrier could be pretty thick, as English isn't that widely spoken yet, so I would highly recommend you to learn Spanish. As with every other country you can move to, the only real hard requirement you need to get sorted is having a location-independent international income. You need to be your own boss, you need to be in full control of the money you earn, and you need to be able to earn this money regardless of where you are in the world. Fortunately, Paraguay's cost of living is very low, so you don't need to earn that much money. Paraguay has plenty of sunshine and not a lot of rainy days. The average temperature is ideal for human beings, although the humidity isn't that high. Paraguay is a beautiful country and is divided into two separate regions. In the east, you have grassy plains and wooded hills, and in the west, mostly low, marshy plains. There are waterfalls, forests, interesting animals, and so on. As I talk about in plenty of detail on this channel, the number one thing you need to get sorted before moving abroad to any country is setting up several sources of location-independent international income. Not having to pay taxes on this income when you are living in Paraguay is amazing. Although Paraguay is not as dirt cheap as some other countries, it's still wildly cheaper than any Western nation, and your dollar or euro will go much further here. You can upgrade your lifestyle while lowering your expenses. Paraguayans are generally a very friendly bunch. They are considered and ranked as one of the happiest nations in the world, and it tells. Spanish is one of the official languages in Paraguay, and this language is rather easy to learn. You can certainly get by with just English, as their average proficiency is of moderate level, but I would strongly advise you to put in some effort and learn Spanish. This will also help you when traveling to other Latin countries. Paraguay is a founding member of Mercosur, And this means that if you attain citizenship or residence, you can easily travel to other countries such as Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina. Paraguay is still in full development. They are working hard on improving their infrastructure and economy, and Paraguay is definitely a country on the rise. If you want to invest here, you'll probably be able to profit from it. Paraguay is a rather insignificant player on the global stage. It's very under the radar, tucked away between other nations. This means that it doesn't have any real enemies. Nobody wants to invade it. There's virtually no terrorism here because it doesn't pick fights with other nations. This is exactly what you want. As mentioned earlier, many Westerners do not need to apply for a visa and either do not even need one or can just get one upon arrival. Even better, attaining residence and citizenship is also relatively easy and fast. As you can tell, moving to Paraguay comes with a lot of strong and important advantages, but there are some disadvantages you have to be aware of as well. Although the average climate numbers are great, they are not painting an accurate picture, as the difference between the west and east part of the country and between seasons is rather stark. Between 30 and 50% of the Paraguayan population can be considered poor. While this is good for you personally, because your foreign sourced income can go a long way, income inequality is nonetheless never good. Paraguay has a rather transparent and fair electoral system, yet fraud and corruption do seem widespread. For me personally, this is a rather small matter because I don't care about politics, and occasionally having to pay a bit more to grease the wheels is an acceptable cost of the lower general cost of living. After weighing the pros and cons, let's look at some numbers and see how Paraguay fares using my scoring system. To determine a country's score, I judge it based on the following parameters: climate, English proficiency of the average citizen, cost of living, taxes on international income, economic growth, safety, and logistics of moving and staying here. While these parameters certainly aren't perfect, they do give you a reasonable idea of what to expect. On average, Paraguay has an excellent climate. It has plenty of sunshine, not too much, and a very pleasant average temperature which is ideal for human beings. There's not a lot of rain, but the humidity is rather high though. It still gets an 8.6 out of 10, which is very good. Educated Paraguayans are most likely able to communicate with you in English to a moderate degree. So I would strongly advise you not to rely on this language if you want to live here. Learn Spanish. It's not that difficult and it will help you tremendously, not only here, but in nearly every other Latin American country. The cost of living in Paraguay is really low. Anyone with a budget of around $800 a month can live in Paraguay. You wouldn't be living a life of luxury, but you'd be fine. Even for Latin America, this cost of living is pretty damn good, and it's definitely one of Paraguay's main selling points. The infrastructure might not be up to your standards, but, and this is key, year after year it's getting better and better, as opposed to the West where it's getting worse. Foreign sourced income is not taxable in Paraguay. This is the ideal scenario, as nearly 100% of your income should come from international sources, not from within Paraguay. Really good and a deserved 10 out of 10. Paraguay is in full development and is improving every year. Its average GDP growth is a decent 4.3% per year. Paraguay is generally a safe country, but in certain regions the crime rates do get rather elevated, but still nowhere near the levels of actually dangerous countries and many Western cities, which are way less safe than Paraguay. The visa situation in Paraguay is excellent, because most people don't need to get a visa in advance. Citizens of the EU can stay up to 90 days without a visa. Those of the US, Canada, and Australia can get a visa on arrival, which is renewable for another 90 days. A Paraguay permanent residence permit is pretty easy and straightforward to get, one of the easiest permanent residencies in the world. You only need to visit once every 3 years to maintain your status. You can also get it through investment. However, every year the requirements are getting stricter, So if you're at all interested in this, do not hesitate. After 3 years of residence, you can get citizenship, which is excellent. However, there are certain requirements. You need to have spent at least half the year of every year in the country, pay taxes, and learn Spanish. If we take the average score of all these factors, we can see that Paraguay nets a very, very good 8.4 out of 10, which is about as good as it's going to get. And finally, let's end with a conclusion. Is Paraguay a good place to move to? As a Westerner moving to Paraguay, this is an excellent country to live in. I've already done plenty of research into dozens of countries, ascribing each nation a score, and Paraguay comes out near the top. It has a pleasant climate, friendly people, Spanish as a national language, easy visa, residency, citizenship process, and 0% taxes on foreign sourced income. In addition, it's relatively safe, has a low cost of living, and is a developing country which will improve greatly in the next few decades. Get your location independent international income sorted, take a trip to Paraguay, and experience this amazing country firsthand. There we go. I hope you learned something about this beautiful country. I'm curious to hear about your thoughts now. Are you interested in moving to Paraguay? Or have you been living here for a while and want to add something I forgot to mention? Let me know in the comments below. In any case, if you want more information about this and other countries you can move to, check out my website at escapingthewest.net. If you want to learn more about why the Western world is going down, how you can make sure you're protected, or if you just want to support the channel, consider checking out my new book, available on Amazon. Link in the description. See you in the next video.